All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last class. We'll get started. So I haven't heard from any of you guys whether or not you guys preferred last class's format or if you guys wanted to try something new. So feel free to type in the chat or speak up now if you guys have any comments, or throughout the class as well. But otherwise, I think we'll just keep working on what we were doing last time, which is if you guys remember integrating like a rotating like a reviews bar onto the Cloud Classroom website. Um, Fair warning, I did do a little bit on my own between last class and now, um, just as part of me volunteering with the Cloud Classroom. So I've done some of the things that it'll feel like a bit of a big jump. So I actually want to start today with just doing a little bit of review of where we got to last time. Um, and then maybe giving you guys a few ideas or pointers about the main objectives that we need to accomplish through the project, and then give you guys a little bit of time to just work on your guys' own. And then towards the end of class, I'll actually share my work with you guys and go through it, pointing out some of the biggest things. And if you guys have code snippets or things that you want to share with me, feel free to do that, and we can find ways to integrate it into the code that I already have. So you guys are genuinely contributing to the website. Um, so yeah, with that being said, as always, I'll send you guys a Replit link in case you guys want to do that. But again, as always, feel free to use any Eclipse or any VS Code or any other IDE that you guys want. So let me share my screen and we'll quickly go over where we left off last time. And yeah. Okay, so where we left off last time was basically on the right, you can see it doesn't look so good because we didn't really focus on the CSS last time, but we figured out most of the HTML. So we have the buttons, we have the actual content here, we have a div as part of the entire web page. And then finally, we worked a bit on the JavaScript, rotating the reviews when we click, which we didn't quite get working last time because we were adjusting the CSS. And then the other thing we were going to add is add a automatic revolving thing so that we don't have to click. If we click, it'll just speed it up to the next one and resume rotating at its normal speed. So I think for today, just keep this HTML so far. Or I guess you could always add your own additional spans for more reviews, etc. But this basic structure is what really all you really need. So we can leave the HTML as it is for now. We finished that last class. And then I would say JavaScript and the actual functionality is a bigger priority than the CSS. So I think for today, a few things that you guys want to work on is one, try to get it so that when you click on a button, when you have this event listener and you click on it, then you can change the styles, which if you remember, we're using the actual, let's see, the classes here. We're changing the actual class in these elements so that they apply new CSS. That's one way to do it. Or I actually encourage you guys, go and search up how to do an automatic rotating thing. There will be a lot of templates or code snippets online, and it'll help you guys practice reading code, understanding it. And I think, at least I looked through a lot of articles and they seem pretty good in integrating a lot of the parts of JavaScript that we've been talking about. And it's quite similar to a lot of other programming languages as well. So I think that's a good insight for you guys to see how similar these languages are. And then I think that'll take up the majority of class. If you guys want to, you can always experiment with more CSS. um, making things fade in and out or changing the colors, the speed at which they appear. But those are, I think, secondary to the actual functionality that we want to achieve. So yeah, I think we'll just give you guys some time to work through that. If you have questions, comments, um, again, always type to me or speak up. So why don't we take, I don't know, let's take 20 minutes maybe just to work through this and see what we can accomplish. So we'll come back together at 5:30 and then I'll go over my code. Um, and again, I did a fair bit, so it'll seem quite different from what we have, but really it's the same things. I just added a lot of CSS and the functionalities are basically the same as this. So yeah, 5:30, we'll go over my code, and then after that, we'll leave some time for questions and answers, and that'll be the end of this course. So yeah, have at it. Right. Hi, everyone. I know that was definitely not enough time. I myself took far longer to do that and would take far longer. So, yeah, I hope that was just enough for you guys to like experiment with it, see what you guys can do. But yeah, I'll share my screen and we can go over my work. So, okay. So here is the final product of what I did. Like I said, it's kind of like a big jump from what we did last time, but really a lot of this is just CSS, like making the background different colors, making it look nicer, etc. If you focus on this like central, like this white bar here, it's the exact same thing basically that we have in our replit, uh, except this is now functional and rotating through our comments. So now I'll show you guys the code for this. But before we do that, let me just check if we run this, what you guys have. Nice. Okay, I see it. Um, Give me just a sec to decipher what you guys are doing. Um, oh, okay, nice. And then go to CSS. Oh, okay. That's smart. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so you guys found the display thing too. Nice. Okay. Sorry, I'm being incoherent, but like this is quite exciting for me, like seeing you guys um like doing this. But yeah, so that's the basic functionality. And I'll show you guys like the automatic, like automation of it, how it automatically rotates through. It's really not that different from this. Once you have these two things down, so the visible and the hidden blocks, plus understanding how to connect your CSS with your HTML through a class and how to change classes through the JavaScript. You guys have all the fundamentals down. Okay, this is nice. Automation and making it look nice is really much less important than actually being able to do this. So this is really nice. Okay. Now, as for my code, I did it in VS Code because I normally prefer to just work in here. Um, but it's basically like the same syntax and everything. So I'll just show you guys here so that I don't delete your guys' work. But you can see everything in the head, etc. It's like the same, doesn't really matter. Um, but again, in the body, remember how we put a div around the entire thing so that, this isn't the only thing in our web page. It's just one part of it. And then in here, we have, again, the like the actual review section. And then plus with each review, we created a separate div. The only thing that might look different on my end here than yours is I just split like these example reviews into 2 lines in a div. Because I didn't want to use like the new line characters and make it more complicated to show you guys. If you guys remember, like having a paragraph symbol here just splits it into like it'll split it into its own paragraph, so it'll automatically create a new line. Exact same thing as if you did a new line character, etc. And then notice, yeah, we have the classes here, and then the one thing you'll notice that I ended up doing a little bit differently is I actually didn't do like uh, well, okay, I'll get to it in the JavaScript, but notice how I just have like a typical review, like the visible one, and then we have like an active one. So like whichever one is being shown right now. So it's still the same. These are hidden, and then this is visible. And then again, yeah, we have like the buttons here. I actually ended up using a div rather than a button just because I experimented around with using the on click of a div rather than a button. But if you use a button, it's the exact same thing. Don't worry about this. So let's do the JavaScript before the styles. So as you can see, the JavaScript is actually quite short, but understanding these is uh, like a pretty hard task actually, like especially if we're just starting out with web development. So first of all is um notice how so what I'm doing first is again getting the elements from the HTML. I have my document keyword, and this we're used to getting things get element by ID. Um I ended up not using IDs for each of the reviews because like they're so redundant, like all except one of them are going to have the exact same CSS applied to them. So this query select all, if you like Google how to select things by class, like this is just one of the results that'll come up. So I'm just selecting things by class, not bothering to give them each like a ID. So yeah. And then the nice thing about this is that this actually automatically puts it into an array for you. And if you guys remember from our JavaScript lecture, an array is really just a complicated way of saying like a collection of elements, things ordered. And so you could have done the exact same thing by getting a different variable for each of the reviews and then manually creating an array and putting them in there again. So really all I've done here is just shorten that little bit of code into one line. So it's nothing that you guys don't know how to do, and I'm sure you guys could do it too. So the other thing I did here is create an index. I hinted at this last time. Like how do we actually keep track of what review to actually show? If we keep clicking the forward button or the back button at some time, it's going to run into the end of our array. So we want it to be able to loop around. And again, I didn't expect you guys to completely do all of this, especially in the given time. But basically what I'm doing is, first of all, I define a function. And basically, remember using these brackets means I'm accessing a certain element in the array using the index. And again, I have my variable here. I start at 0, so the first one. And this is the exact same thing that you guys are doing. So I just have my div here. I'm getting the class name. Um, well, technically I could have put a class name here. I chose to use class list because in the future, like as I continue to work on the website and stuff, you might have multiple classes on one element, but like for the purposes of just this project, you could have done class name as well. So then I'm gonna remove like my active class because remember like the active is the same as what we called last time the visible. And then this thing here, this is just a little bit of math that we're doing to make sure that it loops around instead of just hitting a dead end. Basically, every time I'm moving the index, right? So like I'm moving to the next element in my array, my list of reviews. And then this percent symbol, if you have any experience with like other coding languages, this is modulus. Um, so basically like taking the remainder. It's the same thing as in math. It's just mod something. And then reviews.length is just how many reviews are in here. Because again, remember reviews is just all the things that have the class review. And then, yeah, I'm giving the active class, the visible class to my next element. That's really all there is. I'm just changing the classes of my HTML elements. I'm not changing any of the CSS at all, just the classes. So the exact same thing that you guys did. And then over here, this is just like the same thing really as the above. It's just, oh wait, why did I put this is the exact same thing as above. Yeah. So ignore this for now. It was the exact same thing as above. And then this is the part where like I added a little bit of automation. So first of all, I'm gonna add like, so notice how at the very beginning in the HTML, I already have an object with the active class. But basically I'm gonna add the active class to the current one, just in case like somewhere else it's been changed, which is like a good practice in general to do because your code, like this one document, isn't going to be the only thing that's affecting your web page. A lot of the time, you have other people coding as well. So that's just a habit that I've developed. It really has no bearing on the actual functionality. Now, these two things. So this is where I've like done the buttons. So I could have done like let forward button equal something, right? Like and get it by ID. And I just shortened this into one line. So again, query selector, instead of using an ID, I used a class just to keep consistent with above, but it really, really does not matter at all. So this front part is just getting the element for my HTML. Then I'm gonna, again, add an event listener. And this seems really long, but remember, I could have stored this in a variable and then have, forward button dot add event listener. I just didn't bother creating a new variable. So I've gotten this thing, I've added an event listener, it's click. And again, remember, this is like the syntax for creating like a function, what to do when it's clicked. And I defined the function above here so that we didn't have to write the actual function in here, which is, I think this way is like a little bit easier to read. And so I chose it for this demo. And then as for the automation, that's like literally the only thing that I added here is this one line. And um it's okay, looking at the time, like it'll take a little while to go into like how this is actually working. But if you Google like how to automate like a rotation, how to automate like a function, then like you'll find some templates like this. Um, let's see. Uh, where is that? Okay, but basically what it's doing is setting an interval, like it's just you can see from the color actually, like the yellow with the same add event listener or query selector, it's just a built-in like functionality as part of JavaScript. And then rotate reviews is um like a parameter that specifies like what we're actually rotating. And then finally, this 5,000, this is given in milliseconds. So 5,000 milliseconds, 5 seconds. And that's it really. So once we break down all of these little pieces, the functionality, as you can see, isn't actually that hard. The biggest part is just a lot of Googling, a lot of debugging, finding out how these pieces fit together. And like seeing what you guys have done in the Replit, like that's a really solid foundation. So before we do like a little bit of Q&A, um, I just want to quickly talk about the styles. You can see like this entire styles document is like 70 something lines. It might seem like really long compared to the other ones, but a lot of this is not even relevant to the actual content. So again, like all the body, I'm gonna have some margins, the background colors, height. This we justified things to the center. I specified some font families, etc., to stay consistent with the rest of the website. But again, like page content, I'm aligning the text, background color, all of that doesn't like it really is just a lot of experimentation and setting things up beforehand. The biggest part is just let's see. Well, I guess we'll go line by line. So setting some colors, the blue to match the Cloud Classroom website theme. And then remember these like the divs where we created like a little rounded corners. So once you have the basic HTML there, you just basically pick out things with your eyes that you would want. Like maybe I want this div to be a little more rounded. I want this button a little smaller. I want this section a little wider. You just keep noticing things, keep searching up attributes and values that you can specify, and just keep adding CSS until you're satisfied. That's all CSS really is. Sometimes it's overcomplicated. Again, so in position, I'm specifying relatives so that in the future, like if you integrate it using some of the, for example, Twitter Bootstrap that we talked about in the past, you can have responsive design like work much more easily. Like on different size screens, this container is going to be relative on the page to another thing. This way, like things won't overlap. when your screen is smaller, or like they won't be super far away from each other when your screen is really big. So a lot of these things are not necessary for just rendering a simple web page online. Now, these two things, this is what you guys figured out as well. Instead of using the visibility thing that I searched up last time, switching to display was the better option. So yeah, using a display none or display block, which if you remember was kind of like the same thing as the visibility. So yeah, and then active. So yeah, remember this is just a hidden one. This is the visible one. This is the only thing that was like the automation. So the animation I'll explain when we get down there, but really quickly, just some arrows, colors, cursor, etc. The positions, um, experimenting with how many pixels. I can't tell you how many times I've changed these numbers, then reopen the web page to see how it looks. So yeah, it doesn't require a lot of thought and work compared to JavaScript or HTML. It's just a lot of trial and error. So that's it really. And then the last thing is just this animation thing. I didn't go over this during our CSS lesson because um, it takes a while to explain, but since we have the time now, I guess I can explain it. So what you can do to any CSS, to any HTML element using any CSS selector is to animate it. And you do it using this keyframes keyword. So you can see from the colors, like this is a keyword in CSS. And basically what it means is it doesn't mean anything. It's just a keyword that lets CSS know that you're using a certain type of animation. And so just add this here as a keyword. And then fade in and out is blue, as you can see, like the other what are they called? Properties here. And it's actually not, I guess you can think of it as a property. It's a type of animation, but in my mind, it's more of like a function, but really it's just one, like something that I'm going to define. I'm writing a function name or a property name. And so once I've done that inside, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to create, so I'm going to go from 0% to 100%. Like my opacity is just like the transparentness of the web page. And then 25%, 75%, like opacity. So it's from a 0 to 1 scale in this specific case. So 0 would be like completely invisible, 1 would be like solid. And specifying different percents, like what intervals uh during the fade in and out process, they're gonna be these values. Again, this is like a lot of nitty-gritty stuff. If you literally Google fade in and out animation in CSS, you'll get something like very similar to this. They have much better explanations than I can do in a couple of minutes if you guys are interested. But yeah, so I'm specifying again the animation that I've created. And after that, I again seeing multiple values for a single property in one line is just something that a lot of web developers will do to shorten their code. This is the exact same thing as creating another line and saying animation 5 seconds and animation ease in and out infinite, etc. So you would add like a semicolon there, or but oops, 5 seconds. But what this basically means is I'm gonna fade in and out every 5 seconds. So I'm gonna do whatever is in my fade in and out once every 5 seconds and repeat that. And then this ease in and out infinite is just another predefined value in it for this property in CSS. And notice these are two separate ones. So I'm easing in and out, which is basically like fade in and out. So it's using the structure of that function to apply to the ease in and out. And then finally, infinite is just like a forever loop, right? It's continuing to do this. I never want it to stop on my web page. And yeah, that's basically it. Um, so any questions? We ended a bit early, I guess. Um, you guys haven't had any questions in the past classes, but yeah, if you guys have questions, comments, feel free to speak up now. Um, Another thing we could do is actually, if you guys want to, like, feel free to type in the chat or somewhere in the Replit, like, give us some actual reviews for like maybe this class or the cloud classroom in general. And I'll put those reviews into our actual website. Yeah. Otherwise, if you guys don't have questions, let me think. Mm, that's basically it, everyone, for this course. Yeah. If you guys don't have any reviews to give, feel free to leave a little bit early. I had a lot of fun teaching this class. Thanks. And I hope you guys continue to learn web development or at least explore it.